Hi everybody, Crista Cowan here, and it is the beginning of day 3 of Census Week. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bleary-eyed and a little sleep-deprived from all the time that I'm spending in the census images. At least for me, the excitement has not dimmed at all. I'm still anxiously looking for people. I've had some successes finding some people. I've shared some of those with you over the last few days. And I love watching our Facebook page and our Twitter feed and reading about the successes that you're having as you are diving into the 1940 census. We've had a few questions come in, and so we're going to talk about 4 things today. We're going to talk about how we're doing on the image upload. We're going to talk about enumeration district maps. That seems to be a question that quite a few of you have, how to read those, how to interpret them, how to know what you're looking for. We're going to talk about some of the help that's available, and then we're going to talk at the end just for a few minutes about some of your questions, or some of your stories rather, and how you can share those with each other and with us, and so that we can all celebrate together as we find people and stories about our family in the 1940 census. Juliana and Ann are on the chat. If you're watching this live, you can go to our live stream channel at livestream.com/ancestry. And you can check in there and participate in the live chat that's occurring while we're broadcasting. If you're watching this on an archived version of this presentation, that's fine. You can still communicate with us at ask@ancestry.com. And if you have specific 1940 questions, please be sure to put 1940 census in the subject line so that we can filter those into a separate folder and keep track of all the 1940 questions. Okay, let's talk about where we're at so far today. I've been watching this update chart like a little ticker tape almost. Again, you find it on the 1940 census page. If you just scroll down past the map into that database description, you're going to find our chart that is the current image status by state. At the very bottom of that chart, you'll see that we've updated this, about an hour and a half ago. We update that 2 or 3 times throughout the day, and I'm loving looking at this and seeing all of these things filled in, right? So you can see exactly what we've completed and the date it was completed. You can see what's in process currently. It looks like Massachusetts and Oklahoma are the 2 states that are in process, and then the coming soon, you can see what we have queued up next for image processing to stream online. So that's where you're going to find that information. This is looking terrific. I'm so excited about the rate at which these images are coming online and the way that they're looking. It's just fantastic. I just want to point out, again, I did this a few days ago, but this map here is just kind of a fun thing. While you're waiting for your state to come online, or even after you've found your family, it's kind of neat to come in here and to just see some of the images, and these are from our members, these are from you, of what we're finding. Different images from the 1930s and 40s from all across America, people, places, things that were pertinent to that time. Just gives you a feel for what was going on in the decades surrounding the 1940 census. So that's the map. Let's talk about other maps. We've been seeing some questions and some chatter on the Facebook page in particular about the enumeration district maps and how you find, once you get that address, how you really use these and how you read them. And some people have been experiencing a little bit of frustration. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes just doing a quick demo here so that you get a feel for it. We have this search box available for you so that you can type in the city in the description, but I would actually just use this browse box over here. It's going to be a little bit more effective for most of you, I think. Now, the state of Arkansas hasn't come online yet. Of course, it's the state that I am probably the most interested in, but I want to be ready for it, and so I need to know what those enumeration districts are. So I just browse to the state of Arkansas. In particular, I'm interested in Carroll County, and now you'll notice that Carroll County is a fairly rural area, so no cities come up listed, it just says all places. And when I click on all places, it takes me to the first of 4 enumeration district maps for that particular county. Now I can adjust my image here, and I usually just start out with it fitting, And I'll just skim through a couple of images, and what I'm looking for in particular is any town names or anything that's going to look familiar to me. There's a little bit of geographical stuff going on here, and if you're familiar with the area, you can just glance at these maps and you know what section of the county it's looking at, right? So I'll usually run through them like that first, and then I'll go back and I'll make them a little bit bigger, right? So that I can now actually read some things on this map. And I'm looking for the names of the towns, the townships, or the little towns within them that are pertinent to my family history. Now, pay attention, because what you're looking at here in this particular instance, and all of these enumeration district maps, they all come from the different counties and the different cities, and so they're all a little bit different. But in this instance, right, I have the township boundaries outlined, and it looks like they tried to stick with township boundaries for the enumeration districts. When you're looking for an enumeration district number, what you're looking for specifically is going to be a number separated by a dash and then another number. And now that could be, 20-1742, or it could be, like in this case, 8-21. Okay, I don't know if you can see this here. I should have checked to make sure my cursor was highlighted, but what you're looking for, if you look right here under where it says cross, for example, at the top in the center, just underneath that there's an 8-8. That's the enumeration district number. That's that piece of information that you're looking for. Now, in rural areas, it's not as critical. When you get to big cities, it becomes a little bit more complicated. So let's just look at an example that I shared with you the other day from California. I have family in Los Angeles. You'll see here when I select Los Angeles County, it comes up with several cities and then other places. We looked at other places the other day because I was looking for my grandmother in El Monte, but my grandfather was actually living in West Los Angeles on the border of Santa Monica at the time. So again, what I'm going to do is just start by fitting that image. Now there's 84 of them. I'm probably not going to go through every one of them this way, but I just want to get a feel for what's going on. And if you need to jump into a mapping program so that you have an idea of what it is that you're looking at on the enumeration district map, go right ahead, right? So I can plug in Los Angeles, California, I can pull up a map, and then I can toggle back and forth between these two so that I know what it is I'm looking at, right? If I make this a little bit bigger, I can see here's Burbank and North Hollywood and Canoga Park, and then I can come back over here to this map and I can see here's Burbank, right? And so I start to look for some of those familiar places so that I know exactly what it is that I'm looking at over here. That helps me. That's how I do it. And then when you start getting into more populated areas, right? So here on this first enumeration district map is West Los Angeles, which is where my grandfather should be living with his parents and his sisters. As I start zooming in, you're going to see that these enumeration districts are going to start getting smaller in land mass as they become denser in people. And so just look for those numbers, right, that'll help you know what section it is that you're looking for, what enumeration district it is that you're looking for. And sometimes they're really tiny, and sometimes you have to zoom way, way, way in, right, to be able to read those things, and to read the street names even. Now, on some of these maps, the street names aren't really clear. And so what you're going to want to do, again, is to go back into, for example, a Google map. And actually, let me just zoom in on this. And look for major cross streets that would have probably still existed during the 1940s. So, for example, if I come here to the neighborhood where my grandparents would have been living, what we're looking for is things like Santa Monica Boulevard and Olympic Boulevard. And then you can come back over here to this enumeration district map and look for some of those major streets. Here's Venice, here's National, here's Wilshire, there's Santa Monica Boulevard. So that I can trace Santa Monica Boulevard into West Los Angeles, and start looking again then for some of the other major cross streets. So even though my grandparents' street that they lived on isn't listed on this map, I can look, they lived between Santa Monica and Pico, and they lived just north of, or yeah, kind of northeast of Centinela, I can't ever pronounce that. And so you start to look for some of those major cross streets that were in the neighborhood. So you're not going to find necessarily your specific street. I hope that helps a little bit. Map reading is kind of a skill, but it's been fun. My grandfather was a military man, and he and my dad were involved in scouting, and they taught me how to read a map when I was a kid, and I never thought that would be a terribly useful skill, especially in the day and age of GPS, but here I'm using it, and I've been using it for days now, and it is a very valuable skill to have for genealogy research, learning how to read these maps and how to compare it to other maps and figure out where stuff is and how that all works. So that is enumeration district maps. Let's talk next about help. So I'm seeing lots of questions on different channels, our Facebook page, and I know our member services department is getting a lot of phone calls, and our Twitter had some questions, especially yesterday, as a lot of people were talking about the 1940 census. So when you're on Ancestry.com, there's this little link right up here in the top right-hand corner. It's the help link. If you have not explored that, whether you're new to genealogy or not, whether you're new to Ancestry.com or not, I would encourage you to do so. If you click on help, there are a lot of really, really great resources in here, but specifically what I just want to point out is that if you type in 1940 census in this search box, you're going to get a whole list of articles that we have put together over the last couple of weeks specifically about the 1940 census. So the ones that I just want to point out, we have this 1940 U.S. Census Common Questions. It's our FAQ. It's just information about the who, why, what, wherefore, how all of this is getting processed, how it's coming online, all of that. I would encourage you to read that, and if you have friends or others that start asking questions that you see, feel free to direct them to this article so that they have some of those same answers. Okay. The other one is this article here about the 1940 U.S. Federal Census Substitute. So there's been some confusion a little bit about the records that we have available for free until the 10th. The 1940 census is not included in that 1 billion record collection. The purpose of those records are to help you get to an address. And so we hope you'll use that and learn more about that. And then the third article here is about just some tips for how to find your family in the images as they come online. A lot of it covers the same stuff that I've covered in these presentations each day for the last couple of days, but it's in written format, and I know some of you learn a little bit better that way, so feel free to read this article. And then finally, this 1940 U.S. Federal Census release is just an article about specifically about the process of how we're getting these records, these images, and then ultimately the indexed records online. Again, you find those under help. You just click on help, and then in the search box that comes up, you go ahead and type in 1940 census, and it will bring up all of those articles so that you can share them and read them and reread them and make sure that you understand how to do what we're doing. Okay. The final thing that I want to talk about is our sticky notes blog. So if you haven't visited our sticky notes, which are just posts from our community, and lately we've been doing posts from our employees, the email address or the web address here, it's ancestry-sticky notes, and it's a .tumblr, so TUMBLR.tumblr.com. And in here what we're doing, and you can access it actually, let me just show you one quick way to access that in case you forget that URL. On our Learning Center, I believe it's under Next Steps. Just kidding, it's under What's New. There we go. On our Learning Center, under What's New, you can go to our social network, and there you can just link directly to any one of our social channels. So Facebook, the live stream videos like you're watching now, the Sticky Notes blog on Tumblr, our YouTube channel where all the old videos are archived, You can follow us on Twitter. Anyway, so the Sticky Notes blog, here's why I bring this up. Several of our employees have been writing stories or sharing stories about the things that they're finding or the things that they're hoping to find in the census. And one of the things that I have learned in my decades as a genealogist is that I learn best by listening to how others do their research. And so I would just encourage you that if you're still not quite understanding how to do this, or if you have questions, or even if you just want to be inspired, go read some of these stories. And you might have these little ahas as you read these stories that others have written about their family history, and particularly their 1940 census experience. As you read their experience, you might think, oh yeah, that would work for me, or I could try it that way, or I understand that. We're also, you can see here, Anne has posted a couple of articles about some of the how-tos as we go through this census week, and in the coming weeks and months as we get this census indexed and start to put the indexes online. Here's a good place to go to get some of those resources. Again, I recognize that several of you learn best by reading, and so this is just another way to help you get the information that you need so that you can be successful. And ultimately, that's what we want, is we want you to be successful. We want you to find your family. We want you to have those stories. And then once you do, if I'm going to scroll back up here to the top, we have a link here on our Tumblr blog for you to submit your story. And we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear when you found your family in a census, and if you've got a photo that can go with that, or a story behind it. I've seen some chatter about some people who are finding things, and they're finding things they didn't expect in the 1940 census. Maybe some family mysteries that need to be uncovered. We would love to hear that, and I'm sure your fellow genealogy community would love to hear that as well. So please come and read these stories and share these stories, and we can all kind of rejoice together in the glory that is the 1940 census. We're having so much fun with it, and we hope to continue to have fun with it for several months and years to come as we continue to find family in that census. Well, that is all I had prepared for you today. I know Juliana and Anne are still on chat, I imagine, and so I will hop on chat as soon as I'm done here if you have any additional questions. If you have specific things you'd like to see covered, we're going to do another live stream presentation tomorrow morning, tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. It's still sort of morning here in Utah. And then we'll do tweet chats again at 3 o'clock Eastern today and tomorrow. So if you've got specific things you want us to address in any of those forums, please email at ask@ancestry.com. Be sure to put 1940 census lookup or 1940 census question in the subject line so that we can filter those out pretty quickly from all the other emails that we're getting. Also, be sure to just check the Ancestry.com Facebook page so that you can RSVP for those any of those events that you want to attend. And then maybe within the next day or two, we'll also be putting up the rest of the events for the month of April. So hopefully that gives you enough information to go and find who you need to go and find, and to tell the stories that you need to tell about your family history. I know I'm going to keep digging, and am excited about what I'm going to find. This is Crista Cowan. Until next time, have fun climbing your family tree.